السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. صلوات. In continuation of the few nights that we have spoken on uniqueness of Karbala, we reached to the point that we wanted to discover if there is any relationship between the disappearance of Imam Mahdi Ajalallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif and the event of Ashoora. These two may seem two separate incidents happening in two different cross-section of time. However, we wanted to discover the underlying connection between these two. As a matter of fact, we believe that we cannot make a full sense of the event of Ashoora unless we have a good, sensible explanation of disappearance of Imam Mahdi and reappearance of him. May Allah hasten his reappearance. And it's hard to make a lot of sense from this appearance of Imam Mahdi without having a good analysis and understanding from what happened in Ashoora. My time is very limited and the discussion is going to be a little bit heavy, unfortunately. I apologize and I appreciate your attendance and your patience. One question that I would like to pose is, what do we think about the wisdom behind disappearance of Imam Mahdi? If somebody asks you as a Shia person, you believe in Imam Mahdi, you will say yes. And they will ask, where is he? You will say, he is disappeared. If he asks, why did he disappear? What would you choose as an answer? Is anybody here that can help me? Share with me what you think the reason behind disappearance of Imam Mahdi. There should be a wisdom behind it, right? Hikmat Ilahi. What was that? How can we explain it? Is there any way that we can make any sense of it? می‌فرماند امامت در خطر بود. The imamate was at danger if he was not disappeared. Any other answer or any other explanation why Allah decided to hide him?
The world was not ready to follow him.
The world was not ready to follow him, so Allah disappeared him.
Until the people make ready themselves, and when the people are ready, and then he come like.
Okay, great. This answer has two sections. One, the world was not ready for him, and then the second part of it is that when the people become qualified or ready for him, then he is going to reappear. I do not have any contest or problem with the second part, but I still have a question, a sincere question about the first part. if we say the reason for disappearance of Imam Mahdi was that the concern was that somebody is going to kill him, as we know that they did this to all the other previous Imams, then that would create a lot of problem. If we think the reason that Imam Mahdi was disappeared was that Allah was afraid of him being killed, so he hid. If we explain it this way, it is against many of the teachings of Quran and Tawheed and many other things. And it shows that we do not quite understand the wisdom behind the disappearance. One question will be then, okay, why didn't Allah disappear the others who were all murdered? Didn't he know that they are going to be killed? Why did he exceptionally treated Imam Mahdi, whereas the others all were the same nur, the same light? He was not any different or discrimination against any other, right? If that is a concern for Allah to decide to hide an Imam, he should have done it with Imam Ali alayhi salam, or even prior to that, Fatima al-Zahra, or even prior to that, Holy Prophet. All of them were murdered. Why didn't they disappear? And when we say the world was not ready for him, that's why he was disappeared. I will ask you, was the world ready for Ali alayhi salam? What happened to Ali alayhi salam? Did he really receive the appreciation that he deserved? Did he really receive the help? I don't think so. The history doesn't agree with that. He was the most oppressed individual. Was the world ready for Imam Hassan alayhi salam? No. Why didn't he disappear? And so forth. Why did Imam Hussein disappear? That's the very, today's topic. Why didn't he disappear? So it's not because they were at risk or the world was not ready for them, so Allah decided to disappear Imam Mahdi. Because if that was the case, it should have been applied for all of the Imams. And if it is to be scared of him being murdered, first of all, if martyrdom and shahadat is good, Allah will not deprive Imam Mahdi from it. As we know, it's not. It's going to happen to him as well. Because that is, Akramna b'shahada, in Zainab Salamullah alayha said, that is one of our entitlements. We are all shaheed, the Ahlul Bayt. This is not, Imam Mahdi will not be deprived from that qualification. And then if, let's say, Imam Mahdi was shaheed, okay, then Allah was able to bring the 14th and the 15th and the 16th and so forth. Did he, did the resources of Allah finished? No. Lahu mulku samawati wal arz, lahu khaza'an samawati wal arz, right? So it's not the way to explain why Imam Mahdi disappeared. Why do I pose this question? Inshallah, if I have enough time, I will get back to this question at the end of this tonight, inshallah. And we will see the reason is lied down in the Ashoora. If you cannot explain it because the issue of Ashoora is not resolved quite perfectly. Okay, I close this parenthesis in here and go back to the story of Ashoora and review a little bit of things that we already mentioned in the previous sessions. Main purpose of creation, is to create Khalifatullah fil ard. Inni ja'alun fil ard khalifa. That was the story of creation the day one, Allah decided to have a representative on the face of earth called human being. And he was supposed to represent Allah fully after everything else was already created and none of them were capable and qualified to be representative of Allah. So this one, Adam or human being, was designed to be capable of being representative of Allah, Khalifatullah fil Ard. In parentheses, Khalifatullah, or the representative, is not the deputy that is at charge when the main person, the chief person, is absent. This is not the case again. Because Allah is not absent from the creation at any moment. So there is nobody who does on behalf of Allah when Allah is on vacation. No, this representative means the one who is the most similar to Allah. So he carries the most or the highest level of the characteristics and attributes of Allah in the extent of a creator, not Allah. So that was the main purpose. The whole sequence of the prophethood are all on the line of creation of Khalifatullah at the end of the day. All prophets have sacrificed to improve mankind's soul. We know that, I don't elaborate on that. They gone through a lot of tortures and strived very hard, and most of them were actually murdered or killed or tortured. And they put all that sacrifice into this. That, of course, the divine message that they delivered while moving people forward toward being Khalifatullah still was not paid the justice, and always we have witnessed the history shows that the message, the divine message of the prophets got manipulated and deviated from the original one. So that was the reason why one of the reasons, the next prophet was appointed at different section or different place. So that was the case with the last prophet as well. That was not any exception. The exact same thing that happened to all what happened to the previous religions happened to Islam as well. And it was hijacked on Saqifah. You know, the Saqifah was not an abrupt incident. That was a planned arrangement. Many years they have worked on it. I don't want to address that. That's a historical event, and you can later on work on that. But that was hijacked, and we know that everything turned upside down. Throughout the very few years, all teachings of Islam were nullified and voided, and something instead of Islam, a pseudo-Islam, a fake Islam, a false Islam, was now in power and advocated fully by the governing and ruler forces. True Islam was denied access to any tribune or any voice. It has not any possibility left for Islam, a true Islam, to communicate with people and get the propaganda. Humongous propaganda machine was established for the pseudo-Islam, and at the same time, when the real true Islam did have no chance of finding a place to present itself and to introduce itself to the newcomer generations, the pseudo-Islam was in power with the most humongous machinery of propaganda at charge. Not only the propaganda machinery, but also the brutality of the governing regimes also was in charge and was in place and was at work. If you would say anything against the rulers, you would have to suffer a very, very torturous consequence. So the question is, with that condition, how one could confront the situation and the status quo and the existing condition. How could a an advocate of true Islam, change the course of action? That is the question that was answered in the project of Ashoora. The things that was required, or many amongst them, or some of them are mentioned in here. First of all, we needed a long-term plan. It was not an incident that took place overnight, so we could not confront it overnight. It needed to be pre-planned for many, many generations. As we know, it actually happened for the project of Ashoora. From Adam alayhi salam, the thing started and went on until Imam Hussein, and then after Imam Hussein also kept going. Everybody put some investment in the event of Ashoora we mentioned earlier. Another thing that was required was that to take advantage of any opportunity that came up. That is very important. That answers to that question, why Yazid and not Muawiyah? We mentioned several times, because that's one of the important highlights of this discussion, that Imam Hussein did not confront Muawiyah, whereas Muawiyah was not even comparable to Yazid as far as the danger to Islam and the problems that he created for Islam. But the Yazid was only an opening, an opportunity. That was the only reason that everything happened at the time of Yazid, because this plan was very, very meticulously well orchestrated and well planned, and it had to be done on an exact time, exact place. It was not an accident. It was not just abrupt something that somebody else forced Imam Hussein to do something. No, everything was under the control. And this had to happen at the time of Yazid, who was the most vulnerable opening. We have one arrow only, and we had one occasion only, and we had one Imam Hussein only, and we could not be reluctant about using his at the time of Muawiyah. You know what Muawiyah did? He blackmailed Imam Ali so badly that after all the unbelievably delightful history and great history that he had, people turned to believe that Imam Ali even didn't do prayer. So they asked, what was he doing in the masjid when he was killed? Did he go to masjid at all? That is how powerful the propaganda machine was against the pseudo-Islam propaganda machine was so strong. So Imam Hussein could very easily be his blood go to in vain, and that was not the plan. This blood needs to be paid, and it's not paid yet. Remember that it's not paid yet. It's not paid off until his Mahdi comes back, and that is how these two events is going to get close to each other. This blood was not supposed to go in vain, and the plan was that you have to do it in a way that the blood can survive generations after generation. So another thing is that you had to create a memorable moment that conveys the message. In other words, if you wanted to keep this message going generation after generation, you have to have some substance. And that has to be a memory that people can narrate to generations to come in order to keep the message going. And should make sure the actions are very clear and simple. You will see a lot of very clear-cut actions from Imam Hussein in that half a day of Ashoora, and prior to that, it's amazing. We don't unfortunately have time to go over the steps that he took and the things that he said and the things that he did. Every single one of them is extremely calculated and extremely smart. He didn't have a chance to make any mistake, and he didn't make any mistake in this calculation. It's a political calculation. And that's what makes Ashoora survive generation after generation, because he was so on top of everything. And being simple and clear is important for that message. That's why you, at some point you say, Imam Hussein said, if you don't want me, okay, let me go back to Medina. What? You want to go back to Medina? It's amazing. The things that he has put into this, I cannot unfortunately address it because of my time is already gone. But I invite you to work on those topics. Also, the documentation is very important. In the Karbala, for the first time, you see he has a very strong documentation system. He kept all the pledge aids and all the bay'at and the letters in a very meticulous way to use them, and he did use them, because that is important for the culture that was ruling on that time. I unfortunately cannot address the culture that Imam Hussein used in the Ashoora was not culture of Islam, because there was no such a thing anymore. He didn't use the value system of Islam to succeed. He did use the value system of Jahiliyyah to succeed against the pseudo-Islam. It's interesting. Imam Hussein utilized the value system of Jahiliyyat against the new Jahiliyyat pseudo-Islam. Because there was no such a thing as values of Islam anymore living. That is by report of Imam Ali long time ago, that everything has is come back, has come back. It's no more anything of the values that Holy Prophet brought there amongst the regular normal people, like the majority of people. There need to be an emotional investment, because that emotion is something that is unique and it's universal for everybody. You don't need to be Iranian or Iraqi or Arab or Turk or from whatever nationality or from what cross-section of history to have a common sense of a newborn of 6 months deserves a drop of water. You don't have to be rocket scientists, or you don't have to be from a certain culture to understand this basic concept that a 6-month-old baby does not deserve that treatment. Many things in the Ashoora happens that aims this aspect, wants to convey a message which has a lot of emotional load, because that can be very easily interpreted and transferred and conveyed to the next generation. You don't have to know philosophy or anything, or psychology or anything. It just very naturally comes with you. That is what the picture that Imam Hussein portrays on that day is immensely beautiful, immensely calculated, and immensely fruitful. Every single moment of Ashoora has a lots of story in it attached to it that conveys that creates an emotional load that you can see why crying is so important, why commemoration of Ashoora is so important, because that is the vehicle on which the message have been transferred generation after generation for 1400 years, and today you will see it as glorious, much more glorious than ever. Every spot on the face of the earth now, you can find some place, a gathering mentioning Ashoora. It didn't happen accidentally. There's a price tag on this. And I mentioned that the saying from Imam Hussein, Ana qatilul abarat, I am the one who was murdered for tears, has a lot of meaning into it. You have to know that and pay attention to this. Why you're crying here tonight or in your house, whenever you mention شیعتی مهما شربتم ما از بن فندبونی او فذکرونی او سمعتم بشهید وقتیل فندبونی. The message that whenever you saw water, remember my thirst. And whenever you see somebody killed or murdered, remember my time. The We don't have anything similar to what we have about Imam Hussein for anybody else of those other Muslims. Even Fatima al-Zahra. The remembrance of the time of Ashoora and what happened in that day is so crucial and so important. That's how you become a soldier of Imam Hussein. Actual player, not somebody who just mourns. Actual player of the Ashoora. Because the Ashoora is the file, it is open. This one is not closed. And it's going to be open till Imam Mahdi comes. And in order to be able to be part of this movement, you need to get qualification. We said that Ashoora created a nation. This nation later on was called Shia, but it was conceptually born at the time of Holy Prophet. So Shia was born at the time of Holy Prophet as a concept, as a way of looking at Quran, as a way of interpreting the Quran and Islam. The only authentic, actually, way of understanding Quran. Because the whole thing was around one axis. إِنِّي تَارِكٌ فِيكُمْ مُسْتَقَلَيْنِ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَإِتْرَتِي لَنْ يَفْتَرِقُوا حَتَّى يَرْدَ عَلَيَّ الْحَوْضِ. These two grand inheritance have to be together, period. There is no debate on it. There is no room for it. Zero tolerance. If you separate them, I don't care if you follow which one of them. It doesn't matter. It's no more good. And this is the nation, that the only nation has this slogan, this title, this agenda. This is their agenda. Across the whole history. They don't have much more to say. That's the only thing that they care about. Did not want to separate between these and that. Kitabullah wa itrati. That was the specification and qualification of this. But this nation, when it was born, was not quite mature. Remember that. It's just like a baby. When the baby is born, potentially it could be a philosopher, could be a doctor, it could be an astronomer, whatever it could be. But practically and physically and actually at the moment, no, he's just a little baby. He needs to grow. For growing, he needs time. The time, not only the time of agreement, agreeable time, the time that supports him and allows him to grow, because the time passes and then all the enemies are against you. You don't get to anybody. You get killed, right? The baby can only use the time that is in support of something and allow him the time to grow and learn. In any step, learn more and more until it gets to maturity. When this individual grows up to the age of Ashoora, means that the maturity, then the hukm will be delivered to him. Then he's going to be responsible for doing things. But it needs time. So this nation needed time. And Ashoora was the one who provided the time for this nation to grow. And I told you the other day, when this nation started with a few people at the time of Holy Prophet. The first visitors of Imam Hussein were only 2, right? And then today is millions of millions of millions, hundreds of millions. That is how a nation grows. That is in quantity and as well as quality. The quality also has grown amazingly, drastically. The quality of understanding of Shia today from the values in the course of Ashoora, in the event of Ashoora, is much, much more immense than any other section of time in the past. Because that growth that is how we get close to Imam Mahdi. Again, back to the story of Imam Mahdi. It's not that when he comes with the force of sword, he fixes everything. If it was the plan from day one, why did we even waste our time for 124,000 prophets to come and get killed and go? Why didn't we do it at the first time? Allah would have been able to do the same thing, right? Give that power that He's going to give to Imam Mahdi, to the first prophet and fix everything at the time with the sword. That was not meant to be. That was not wisdom. So Imam Hussein filters his members of the campaign, and the same way the nation has to go through the filters in order to get qualified for being part of this Ashoora event. In order to be a soldier of Imam Hussein, you have to have some qualifications. And that qualifications are taught to us. It's not secret. We as Shia are not the children of God, as Yahud or Jewish people believe that they are the chosen group and they are the best. We don't think we are the best. We think, though, however, that we are to be the best. We are created to be the best, to make ourselves the best, but they are not by default the best. So if you let yourself go, you're going to go astray and you're going to be the worst, as a matter of fact. Don't be so proud of yourself to have access to Imam Hussein and the others and say, you know what, I have Imam Hussein, I don't care what I do, he's going to take care of me. No, that's not the game. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله, and so forth. This is the same message that Imam Hussein said when he was saying, I am appraising for this very thing. أريد أن آمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن المنكر وأسير بسيرة جدي وأبي. So my time is up, unfortunately, and I cannot get to the issue to wrap up how this thing at the time of Imam Zaman, inshallah, will be treated. But I wanted to discuss this at the last chance that I will have, the day after tomorrow, inshallah, contingent to life. I will address that and wrap up this, and we will together learn how to explain the disappearance of Imam Mahdi that makes sense to anybody who even don't love Ahlul Bayt or don't even submit to the school of thought of Ahlul Bayt or even Islam. Still that makes sense. Not the way that we discussed earlier. That is not the way to explain why Imam Mahdi was disappeared. There is a better way of an explanation. Inshallah, we will discuss it. And then we will see how that reappearance will connect to the event of Ashoora. And there is no separation. You cannot separate them. You have to have both of them in order to complement each other and explain why Imam Hussein did that and why commemoration of Imam Hussein is so important, why our tears are like the blood in the veins of Ashoora, and why Imam Mahdi has had to disappear and will come back. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.